Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of CampusTalk. I'm your host Marcel, and today's episode is something special because we're switching into English. Normally we don't do that, but for Angeline Fischer, it just felt right.
Marcel, thank you so much for inviting me. It's a great pleasure to be here.
For everyone who's listening, right now we are at the FIP studio. Thank you that we can be here today.
Oh, well, I'm really glad that we're here. Yeah, exciting.
Yeah. Which seminars are you giving the students?
At the moment, and actually for quite a while, I've been teaching business English as well as economics in English. I've also taught intercultural competence and management and leadership skills. So those are my areas of expertise.
Do you want to tell us something about you, just briefly and short?
My biography is kind of like a mosaic. It's not really a straight line. I've done a bunch of different things. So I've been in industry, I've worked in consulting, in auditing, and now specifically in teaching as well as event management.
Yeah. Originally, you're from Canada. You grew up with a Canadian mom and an Indian dad.
Well, he was also Canadian. Yeah, he naturalized. Yeah.
Okay, but he came from India?
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
But Canadian.
Yeah, I mean, that's always a question of definition, right? You're only getting into the right big topics.
I think it's important how the person feels himself.
Yeah, absolutely. You're right on the nose with that. I think it's difficult. If I look into my soul and my heart, it's difficult to say I'm this thing or this thing. I think it's a combination of different elements. Yes, I came from a multicultural background. My mom is French and Irish background, but she's third generation, and my father was a first generation Canadian, so he did become naturalized. He had the luxury of being able to have a British passport, but yes, he was also a multiracial. White people would just think of him as being dark-skinned and brown, but Indian people know. He was educated in India and then later on went to England and then went to Canada.
Do you think that background shaped your view? Do you think that you see the world in a different way than people who just grew up with one culture?
Of course. There is a different amount of flexibility that's automatically there because you don't take one way of living as being the end-all or be-all. So we see that there are different options in the world. It's our life experiences as well in the environment. Growing up in Ottawa, Canada, I always was surrounded with new people. We categorize people kind of by first generation, second generation, third generation. They're all Canadians, but with a lot of different influences. So I always had a colorful group of friends, and I always found it fascinating and interesting. And we call it the United Nations dance. When you start meeting people, do you hug them? Do you kiss them? Do you stay, a meter apart? Yeah, because it's always different.
It depends on where the people are coming from.
Yeah, it's like that in Canada, where I came from particularly, because it was the capital. A lot of people are traveling there and going there. And so when I went to university, that's really the first time of real freedom in some ways. There were people from all over the place. And so that is something that's very natural. I feel the most comfortable in multicultural groups where both or more genders are there, where there's different age groups. I like diversity. It makes me feel actually comfortable.
Diversity is beautiful, and we can learn a lot from different people, especially if they're coming from all around the world. That helps us see the world through another lens.
And we learn about ourselves a lot. That's the gift, is that you also begin to sort of question things, realize there are different perspectives, and understand what's important to you as well. You learn it through the interaction, and I think it's a beautiful thing. Culture is dynamic, it's ever-changing. I've seen that, even living in Germany for as long as I have, that things have changed. Culture changes as well, so yeah, it's exciting.
So you came to Germany. What happened? Why have you left Canada?
It's a love story. Yeah, it wasn't planned. I was in an international student organization, ISEC. They are a peace organization for economics and business students primarily. It was founded in Europe. In the past, there wasn't the opportunity to really do exchanges. So this organization was student-run, and they would organize exchange programs themselves. Yeah.
So you had the opportunity to come to Germany?
It wasn't like that. I was a vice president of exchange, so my role was to organize that people would come to Canada. And I was at a national conference in Quebec City. People from all over Canada were there, and I was at an after party. There was dancing and stuff, and the Brazilians could really dance. That's where I met my now husband from Germany. So it was just happenstance that we met. He, with his best friend, had contacted the organization because they wanted to travel, and they were like, hey, it would be fun to connect with some other ISEC members. They got connected with a woman whose husband was at this conference. They ended up going to this party. Basically, he stood out like a sore thumb because there he was. I had a badge on, and he asked me, he says, Ottawa, that's the capital of Canada, right? Yes, it is. It's a national conference, you have to think. Anyway, I was just so interested in him and fascinated, and we ended up traveling together, spending the rest of his trip together, and then making plans to be together. And I came and visited. I said, okay, this is interesting for me. It was a long story. I had working visas and then kept going back. It was actually a bit of a struggle, to be honest.
Beautiful at the same time.
It's great when you find somebody that you connect with so deeply, and I just sort of went with my gut feeling. I said, okay, this is something that I feel. I have this great connection. And hey, I'm willing to take the risk, and I'll just go, and I have to meet his family and his people, and I'm curious, and we'll just see how it goes. If it doesn't work out, that's absolutely fine. Then I'll just go back. I have lots of options. Then I will know, and then I'll be out of my system.
So that one party changed your entire life.
Well, I don't know if I would say that. The great thing was we were both at a point in our lives where we weren't really looking for a relationship. So that made it pretty easy being very honest or not really trying to impress each other.
Yeah.
And that was what made it so easy.
So love will find you when you don't expect it.
It could be. Everybody around me was pretty concerned, I have to admit. Yeah, they were like, what? It even went into the ISEC newspaper because it was not that much in my character to do something so crazy. And from the outside, of course, it looked absolutely crazy. But I just felt confident in my abilities to be able to go somewhere else and manage, and if need be, come back.
It just felt right. And you came to Germany. How was it for you? Transition from Canada to Germany.
I found it difficult. That's the honest answer. I felt very competent in my own environment. I would say that way. And of course, I always had a very multicultural group of people around me. Everyone around me said, if not you, who's going to do well going to another country? But when I came, I didn't like that I didn't know the language. So I came without knowing a word of German. I thought it was really exciting at the same time because I really enjoy older architecture, and there's still a lot of older architecture here. The history, there was so much to discover. The food, I always love to try new foods. So I was very much open for the adventure, and I was happy that I always tried to have something. And I actually had to because I was here on the working visa. So I always had an activity. I was always working. I was always learning. I did find it, however, very challenging because I didn't know any German. And I had to work. So I was working, which was great. But at that time, there weren't any evening courses in German. So I was just kind of swimming through things. And I found it very isolating. So my husband is very open, but the people around him were other students, and they were really homogeneous. My husband's very open. He's actually very adaptable. He's the one that learns the languages really quickly wherever he goes. But for me, languages have always been an obstacle for me. I'm dyslexic. That doesn't make it easier, but it doesn't matter because I was very motivated to get over the obstacle. But there were so many obstacles. So I really would go then to grocery stores with a dictionary and try to figure out what things were, ingredients labels and things like that. Like it's hard to believe it anymore, how difficult it was.
Today, your German is really good. I like it.
Oh, that's very kind of you. I'm still self-conscious about it for sure.
No, I think you speak perfectly.
I don't know about that. No, I don't. I know my grammar is as it should be.
For students who come here and study and want to stay longer, what would be your advice for them?
I do a lot of intercultural work, and this is definitely something that I would advise. So I think it's great if you do both. If you can somehow take a course and talk to people, that's amazing. In a way, if you have that luxury of being able to come, just take a German class and talk to people, that would be the most enjoyable thing. But I don't know how many people have that kind of budget. If you come as a refugee, in some ways, you're required to do that. And that's very frustrating for a lot of people because they come, they want to contribute, they want to work, and they have that obstacle. They need to learn the language first. And so often it takes a few years of attending language courses, and then they're able to work. And so for a lot of people, it's very frustrating. I don't know if I would be fulfilled either if I had done it that way, because I wanted to work. I wanted to work in a professional capacity. Eventually, I did my undergrad, and then I did my master's later. But yeah, I wanted to advance, and I wanted to work in big companies because I didn't know if I would stay. I didn't want to lose that much if I went back to Canada or went somewhere else. I wanted to be able to say, I worked here. And I was very career-driven, to be honest, at that time.
That's also good.
Well, who knows? But that's what it was.
Yeah.
Ambition is not always bad.
Both of your parents are teachers. Do you think that had an impact on you and that you are also teaching now?
Definitely, I think it has had an impact on me.
Okay.
Although I have to admit, it's so funny because my parents both recommended that I didn't become a teacher.
Really?
Yeah. So I think that they saw other people earning more money. That was basically it. I think my father always really wanted both of his daughters to be financially independent and be independent in general, not be dependent on anyone, particularly a man. So I think that was probably the motivation. It was fear-based. A lot of the things I do is being an educator or a coach or mentor, however you want to hear it. And that is definitely, I think, primarily because of my father. He was, as I said before, a brown man, and he taught math, computer science, grades 7 and 8. He was pretty much a humble man, very dedicated always. He was an engineer originally, and then he got retrained and became a teacher. At the time, there was a deficit. They were looking for more teachers, and they had a retraining program if you had a degree. That's where he met my mother. At some point, as I was getting older and getting to know new people, I had a very unusual name, my maiden name. Phantom, very unusual name. Only a few people have this name.
Phantom.
And it's very unusual. It's spelled Fanthome. This is a very unique name with a very unique history. Because of that, if I would meet somebody later in life as I was growing up, they said, "Oh, are you Mr. Phantom's daughter?" And I was like, "Yeah." He changed my life. If I hadn't had him as a teacher, I would have never become a brain surgeon. Things like this, yeah. So I kept hearing this from people, once.
It's beautiful to hear that.
Yeah. I approached my dad. So I came to my dad, I spoke to this guy, and he said, you changed his life. He's like, I don't even remember it, Of course, there's a lot of people come through. I just realized, you can have, just by being you, investing in people, you can reach somebody in a moment. And you don't know when that moment's going to be. And it can change their life. I think sometimes students don't realize how much some of their teachers care.
What's the most memorable situation you had with your students?
Okay, I'll tell you one. For instance, in business English, part of it is that we have presentations. And so that's quite nice for me because the students then bring their own input.
I remember.
Yeah.
I also had to present something.
Yeah, so it's great. You get used to trying to present in front of a group and in another language. Of course, it's a challenge. It's on a business topic, and I want to hear people's opinion, that they're critical about it. And it has to relate also to the global sustainability goals. One of the topics the student chose, which is not really one of my favorite topics, I have to admit, was comparison and contrast to e-cigarettes and regular cigarettes in relation to health differences, but also the new manufacturing technology and the waste, especially with single-use vaping. This student created a project where he repurposed one-use disposable vapes that are out there, had a recycling program. He created it by himself. He used the batteries as an energy source to recharge phones. So completely made it himself. It was, I guess, pretty low tech with recycled items. Very creative guy. Somebody that's out of the box. Obviously very creative, solution oriented. I see a lot of potential in low tech. I mean, I know everybody's into the high tech and the rocket ships going to other planets, but I think that there's a lot you can do with low tech as well. And I think that's exciting. So that was one thing, because the individuals.
He did much more than you asked for.
Yeah, I mean, I think this was something that he was working on before, or at least parallel, just started it.
What does intercultural competence actually mean?
Oh, wow. That's not that easy to define. They say that there are different stages. It depends on the context, I would say. A big part of intercultural competence is primarily questioning and to go with the assumption that you don't know everything. I think that's the most important thing. I think it's really about being open, being flexible, and decentering yourself. Yeah, that's a big part of it.
Can you share a situation where cultural misunderstanding taught you something very important?
Yeah. In Canada, we a long time ago have walked away from gender signaling in our language. So rather than saying a fireman and a firewoman, we just say firefighter. So a teacher could be male, could be female. A doctor could be male, could be female, or diverse, right? Could be any gender. We look at the title, the role. Here, it's different. So here, it's more, the feminist movement is saying we want to be more visible because it's a gendered language anyway, right? So
English is not a gender language, so it doesn't matter.
it's different, right? And then the expression of feminism is different. Anyway, so I'm, of course, coming to a new country, and I'm just new. And the very first job that I had was at the University of Rome, working in an economics project for the European Commission. And so I was traveling by bus going there, and I couldn't read anything, and I had to buy a ticket for the bus. I had never seen this before, these sort of pedestrian signs with a woman with a child. And I thought, gee, that is very, to my mind, pretty sexist, because there's an assumption here. Of course, women are often with children and holding their hand. It makes sense. But I thought, this is representing a woman, and why is there no representation of a man? It really stuck out to me because we don't have that where I come from. And I used to go and buy a ticket, and I couldn't really read. And I saw the buttons for the ticket, and there was a large man symbol, and then there was a small woman symbol. And I looked at that, and I thought, man, it really is sexist here. And every day I would press the small button and get a ticket. And as it turns out, the small button was for children. And the large button was for adult. They just happened to have one with pants, let's say, a male symbol and a female symbol. Yeah. That made me check. That's what I mean, is that, okay, yes, you're going to make mistakes when you're in a new country. Even if you are informed, even if you do know language, you're going to make mistakes, you're going to make mishaps. But it's all about being open, forgiving yourself, learning, being willing to change your opinion. If you're somebody that can change your opinion on something, it says a lot about you. It says you have a big growth mindset and you're able to check yourself.
So, in your free time, you are doing a lot in Göppingen. You love Göppingen. First of all, I want to ask a question from a student.
Sure. Oh, I'm glad that you got some questions from students.
So Julia wants to know which place is your favorite spot in Göppingen.
It's my favorite spot.
She said that she sees you a lot in Göppingen.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
My favorite place in Göppingen. Oh, that is a difficult question. I like a bunch of places. So one of the places I really like, very common answer, is Wurzeln. I like to sit out there, especially when the weather's good, look out at the church and the courthouse. It's just a nice view, a good place just to collect your thoughts. I like the library because I love books. And I just love the idea of books. And I'm in a women's writing group, and so we meet there. So that's a place that I enjoy. Of course, here, the vortex, I call it. You
said it's your second home.
When I come to the radio and I'm there in the editing studio especially, I just really lose time. So that's definitely a place that I love to hang out at. My therapy, I say, is arts. So then I would say the art gallery. I really like the art gallery, and they've got great events sometimes. They'll have after work or wine and meet the artists and stuff like that.
Is the art gallery here in Göppingen?
Mm-hmm. There's an art gallery, Kunsthalle. Yeah, I would highly recommend it. It's a small art gallery. Go on a tour, and then you'll understand what the art is. And I also really enjoy jazz. I don't do that enough. There's a jazz IG.
I love jazz too.
Oh, yeah. Okay, we should go. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would recommend that. And swimming. I like to swim. So Barbarossa Therme. And, of course, my tennis club, because that's my big hobby is playing tennis.
You do a lot.
That's definitely also kind of like therapy, is like playing tennis for me. Get out all the aggression.
What drives you in life and what makes you happy?
I like the idea of empowering other people, or being a catalyst that can help empower other people so that they come to the table and they contribute as well, because we need diverse perspectives, that we need the input to create tomorrow. We have a lot of challenges ahead of us. The new generation, when I'm dead, there are going to be these things that are going to be left behind. It's not about me. It's about the collective rising. And so how can we collectively face these things and create solutions?
Which project are you working currently on in Göppingen?
Oh, okay. Well, of course, my big thing is always the intercultural weeks. And the intercultural weeks is September and October is the main time that happens. And that's about 25 different events, everything from book reading to film to dance parties and lots of different types of big and small events. My project that I am working on right now is to create a booklet that is profiling all of these individual people that have had connections, some for 20 years or more, with the Intercultural Weeks, been volunteering and doing things. It's basically a write-up, and everything is under the motto Dafür, the motto for the Intercultural Weeks in 2025, and will be again for 2026. So that's my big project. Yeah, you can even check out some of this materials on our webpage at radiofibs.de.
So Hochschule Essllingen is also part of Göppingen. What could we do to support the international weeks?
The wonderful thing about Hochschule Essllingen, specifically the campus Göppingen, is that the student body is very international.
Yes, we are.
And that's what I like. That's my jam. That's my jam. That's what I like. It would be great if maybe for 2026 that they do an event. But of course, we have to get a group of students involved.
Just being there, being part of the city and mixing up and showing the diversity of our university.
Yeah, it's about networking. I understand it's always about capacity. There's only so many hours in the day, and how are you going to do it? Yeah, I think there are a couple of motivated people, so I think it might happen this year.
I hope so.
Yeah.
It sounds really interesting. So, Julia also wants to know, is there something you want to change at the Hochschule Essllingen?
Well, we want the students to interact with one another because there are studies that have been done. If you have a friend at work, you're going to be more productive. So if you are networking and you have friends at school, people that you're communicating with, you're more likely to be better in your university studies. Socializing has a good knockoff effect. Aside from that, I think it would be great if there were other eating options at the Hochschule Essllingen. Student-run salad bar, fresh or homemade wraps or bowls or something like that. I think it would be good to have some other options. Although I have to admit, one of the things that I really like is that in the cafeteria, they're using the recup. That's great. They also have fair trade coffee, so there are some efforts that are made.
So we talked a lot about what drives you. You're also a host. You have your own show,
That's
English
right.
Breakfast.
Yes.
Do you want to tell us more about it and how you started?
Yeah. Sometimes there are things that you experience or that you're interested in, and it never seems to be the right time. Luckily for me, in some ways, when I was a student, what I was really interested in was radio. CKCU, shout out to you. They had a very well-established, well-received, local, independent student radio. And I remember going there. It was so well-established. It was small. It was nothing like this. Nothing like these rooms, a small space. A couple microphones, and I could just tell you would have to volunteer there for an awfully long time, maybe 5 years before you'd be able to get on the microphone. I don't really want to spend a year just sorting CDs. That's not my jam. And then I had a friend that did film, and he did a lot of post-production. He had an amazing studio, I've got to tell you. He would do these all-nighters there, and he was really into sound and film and cutting and everything. And there's a lot that goes into a film. I mean, it is another thing. A lot that goes into it. Stunt people, like all types of stuff. A lot of filming actually gets done in Canada for American films because it's cheaper. He was always looking for sounds, and I did sound. I was a Foley artist, so I did a lot of steps, would go around looking for sounds. I did a lot of paper.
You do everything.
So, yeah, well, it was just fun. It was interesting to see how it worked behind the scenes. You look at films differently. And so I had seen that, and I thought, oh, that's cool. When I came to Göppingen, I was in a different life phase. I had just had a child. I had left my career. And I was looking to myself and thinking, who am I? What are the values that I want to impart? What are my interests? I want to find out more about where I am and look into this intercultural space. I came across Radio Fips in their mobile studio at the Stadtfest. I was like, hey, there's a local radio here. I had no independent radio. That's interesting, yeah? And now I talked to them for a bit, and then I looked them up online. I thought, okay, they're diverse, they're different, they're independent, and I already knew I wanted to do an intercultural program. Mm-hmm. Maybe they would be open for me doing it. And then I came here. It took about a year. I learned how to cut. I was Reporter unterwegs, so I did reporting for Märklin. I did reporting, and one of the rules we have, you have to cut your own work. That's great because you learn how to produce, got the trust of people, they understood what I did, and then you can officially give a demo. I joined here in, I think, 2011. That was a while ago. And so it's English breakfast. It's interculture. It's usually portrait. So usually I'm interviewing one individual. But sometimes then it's about events or other things,
What do you enjoy most being on radio?
There are a few things. The first thing that I like is just a great excuse to be able to talk to somebody and have them talk about themselves. Also, I think a lot of the people that I interview are contributing a lot. Mm-hmm. And they don't often have that much time to reflect on all they've accomplished and all that they've done. Mm-hmm. And so it does provide a space for that. When you have somebody that's asking questions and listening, it's encouraging for them. So that's what I like the most about it. Radio as a medium has a lot of effect. It's interesting because people thought, radio would go away. Of course, it's morphed. There's a lot of podcasts, but audio, by taking away one thing, you actually gain more. It's very intimate. You can be in the safety of your own home, washing the dishes or folding laundry or driving your car, and you can feel very safe and something flows over you. Yeah. You hear the emotions through the voice of the person and you're safe. So you can be open to learning things or hearing more about other people's experiences. Whereas when you have the visual, it can be so dominant that it can almost be distracting because it's so much. It's closer. And that's what I like about audio. There's something about it, yeah.
No.
It's more real in an Instagram age in some ways.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You won the LFK Medienpreis 2017. For which work?
Yeah, that was New Colors, Neue Farbe, yeah. Mm-hmm. In 2015, there were a lot of people came to Germany. I thought in the media, often when we're talking about people that are seeking refugee status, often the portrayal of these individuals is negative, and they all have their own story. It's an incredibly diverse group of people. So you have the most educated, and then you have somebody that might be analphabetic. It's really, really diverse. Different cultures, different ethnicities, everything, and different occupations. I realized that there was a curiosity about this, and so my idea was, well, wouldn't it be great rather than us always talking about these people, is that they themselves came to word and talked about themselves. That's where this project started. And so what we did is I got, the people that I knew to come in and just say who they are, where they come from, what their occupations were, and what their hopes were for the future. I mean, it was really quite simple, per se. Yeah. That was basically it. And we did it in a really short format. Usually I do long format, but we did it in a really short format. Shout out to Radio Phipps, the people here, because they supported this idea. They were very much for it. The idea was just to put this throughout our 24-hour program. People weren't expecting it, and then they'd hear this voice, I'm Reise, I'm from Iran, and I'm an artist, and my studio was burnt down because I was doing political music. My vision is that I would like to be able to produce music again, for instance. And the people that were there were women, were men, were young people, were older people from different countries with different stories. Yeah, and so because it was effective, it won the prize, luckily.
I really like the idea behind it because normally we always talk about those people. You gave them the chance to talk about themselves. What do you feel if you hear something like, wir haben ein Problem mit dem Stadtbild?
Wow, where to start with this? I find that it's disrespectful. Mm-hmm. I think it's dealing with what we call tropes. So there are certain Verallgemeinungen, certain ways of thinking that are overly simplified, and they deal with symbols, let's say. And so, we've heard it all before. So, of course, if you say this is the Stadtbild, especially what afterwards was said as well with the daughters, when I look at my city and what I see in my city, I love our city, and I love the diversity in our city. We have 40% of people that live in Göppingen have a migration background. Now, you might not always see it. Mm-hmm. You don't always know. But I think that this is wonderful because it creates more innovation. It creates more diversity. It's, you can learn something. There's more interaction. We need to go into our cities, regardless of what background we have. I am very proud of our city and the way that our city looks. I love, for instance, we have our skater park. We call it Platz der Vielfalt. People can just go there, don't have to pay any money. Kids can have fun. That's what we need in our cities. So I think it's completely the wrong direction when I hear that. And I understand that for a lot of people, it's very hurtful because they think, well, I live here and, hey, I have darker skin. Am I no longer welcome? And then you feel spoken to. Some people, they always try to divide us.
Yeah.
Us being the collective, all our Göppinger and Göppingerinnen and everybody that is here. And I think that is absolutely the wrong direction. We have to support one another. We have to be neighborly towards each other, help each other. That is the social fabric that we have. That is what, to me, makes a big difference in the world, is knowing that your neighbor is doing well. They're for you, you're for them. That's what it's all about. And,
diversity is a blessing.
Yeah.
So we come to an end. We are always preparing a game for our guests. I'm telling you two different words and you have to choose one.
Okay.
Okay. Coffee or masala chai?
Masala chai.
Canada or Germany?
German, that's difficult. I have chosen Germany for now.
Okay. Morning person or night?
Night. Even though I have English breakfast, it's a morning program, I am more of a night person for sure.
Radio or classroom?
I would say life is a classroom.
Okay.
Both are classrooms.
Big city or small town?
Big city.
Leadership or teamwork?
Leading from behind.
Talking or listening?
Listening.
Tradition or innovation?
Innovation.
Structure or spontaneity?
Spontaneity.
Reading a book or watching a movie?
I would say reading a book, but I'm more likely to watch a movie, to be honest. Reading the book is neither.
So that's it. Is there a message you want to deliver?
My life motto is diversity is the spice of life. I believe that diversity is something very pleasurable. Don't be afraid of approaching new people, having different opinions. Wonderful if you're making mistakes because it means that you're learning. Curiosity can bring us so many insights.
I'm really happy that you joined us today. I hope you enjoyed the conversation with us.
Well, thank you for having me on your program. I really appreciate it. Being on Campus Talks, so much fun.
I hope that you guys also enjoyed the episode. Also, thank you that we were able to record in the FIPS radio studio.
Thanks as well for taking on this adventure with me and speaking in English.
It was really nice to try it one time. See you next time in the next episode.